talk about this cash flow right here. This is the teaching segment, right? So the teaching segment is it really capital inefficient, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And is it really considered dead money? So let's just play a game of math. Let's try to be objective about it because we're gonna talk about the capital outlay. So again, it's like we're gonna solve for X. Is it dead money to have all of the money tied up in SoFi right now? Now, are there better places that I could have probably put this money? Obviously, if I would have chosen Riot, it'd have been overperforming because Riot just has more premiums than SoFi right now. It's got more volatility. If I'd have been doing this on TSOL, would have probably already this account might already be at like $27,000 or $28,000 just because it would have been more premiums along the way. But let's just talk about the game of math. These are the knowns right now. The knowns are we collected 450 on covered calls. We collected another 22. So we collected $472 in premium. This one here, that's going to be part of the bigger known. So that's not really an issue there. And then we'll go from there. So let me open it up this way. And we're going to start talking about the knowns. So the knowns are that we have 3,200 shares times 721. So I'm going to put the calculator over here. So we got 3,200 shares times 721. So that's how much we've paid for shares. So put that on the chat, please. $23,072. So if somebody could put that in the chat for me, that would be great. So we're going to go back to these knowns, if you will. This is how much we've invested in the shares. So this is like me bringing the wheel tracker to life for you guys, if you will. So there's that. So then, what else do we know? What else do we know? So let's put that number on the chat, please. I need you guys to help me out with this stuff so I don't have to keep going back and forth so we can keep the teaching segment going. Because I need all the knowns in the chat so that I can go back to them. That way I don't have to go back and forth to the wheel tracker so that we can decide whether or not it's dead money to own all of these shares. Fair enough? So let's get it going. So we have that. And then what else do we know? What else do we know about our investment here on SoFi? We know that we have 3 open positions. So we know, so let's talk about money out first. We know that we bought 15 leaps and paid $52.20 for those. So let's put that number in the chat as well, because these are the expenses. So now we've got an additional $52.20. So we're going to go here to the calculator, and we're going to add $52.20. So that essentially is our total investment into SoFi. It's $28,292. That's what we know. So that is our total capital outlay. That is what we know. So now we need to figure out how much money is this bringing in right now to see whether or not it's worth it on an annual basis, or if it makes more sense to just be in cash and sell cash secured puts. Would it make more sense to just dump all the shares and buy leaps and sell covered calls against those? I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin this cat at the end of the day. So we're going to talk about all of that today. We're going to get into the weeds a little bit here because this is just a game of math. This is not a game of emotion. So now we're going to look at, okay, so we have this investment that we paid thank you, Stephanie. We paid $28,292 for. So the objective is that investment's like a small house. Let's call it a trailer house, if you will, right? A tornado magnet. That house needs to yield some rent. It needs to collect some premium because we're just trying to stay in the game long enough so that eventually these shares go up in value. Because what's the goal of this account? The goal of the account is to get to what? To 100 grand. So I'm always looking at how are we going to get there? What path can we take? So to me, the easiest way to get there is to accumulate shares and have the shares run. So you take the goal share amount, you multiply that times your price target, and that has to equal to $100,000. So in my mind, when I started this 100K to the SOFI, the little steed. In fact, we're going to put the steed up there, right? This guy right here. When I started this 100K with SOFI challenge, if you will, it was really, really simple in my mind. What's going on, Red Hill? Really, really simple in my mind. It was, if I could accumulate 5,000 shares, I'll do it better on the calculator. This was really, really simple in my mind, guys. So we already have that number. But if I could get to 5,000 shares, and I think that probably by the middle of next year, SOFI is going to get to $20. Where I went to school, that should be $100,000. So I'm just trying to play a game called nickels and dimes before I have enough money to go to the World Series of Poker, right? Stealing some lines from Rounders, one of my favorite movies. But we're just playing a game of nickels, dimes, and quarters until we have our buy-in to go into the big show, right? So I'm like, right now I'm sitting at 3,200 shares. So if I can just stay in the game long enough, selling puts on margin, selling cover calls on the shares that I have, and I think that SOFI is going to go to $20 by the middle of next year. But if I only stay at 3,200 shares, multiply that times $20, that puts me at 64,000. So I know that I need to be selling cash secured puts and cover calls, and I need to use that premium to buy more shares because that's going to be a lot of cash secured puts and a lot of cover calls, and I'm going to have to do that over and over and over and over and over again in order to get to $100,000, when the easier thing to do is to take those premiums, accumulate shares, and get to my share goal. Because if I can get to 5,000 shares while SOFI stays at these levels and it gets to $20, I'm at 100 grand. Or what if SOFI, or what if we fall short and we only get to 4,000 shares before SOFI runs up? But then maybe SOFI does as a solid and goes to $25. We can still get to the $100,000 that way. That's why I think it's kind of unfair to say that it's totally dead money owning shares if you believe that there is a very realistic chance that this stock can moon and it's just a matter of time. But in the interim, we need to produce cash flow, because right now we only have 3,200 shares. So what would it take right now? We didn't accumulate any more shares. If we didn't accumulate any more shares, how much would these shares need to be worth to have that same 100,000? 3,125. You see, so I think that's a bit unrealistic. In fact, I think that's a lot of bit unrealistic. I don't see a world where SOFI is going to go to 3,125 in probably the next 3 years. So it tells me that I don't have enough shares. I hope that y'all can understand and appreciate how I'm reverse engineering this goal for you guys live and in color, because a lot of you guys are in these situations where you have these smaller accounts. You're like, I'm going to get you $100,000. And then you have people like me and we'll ask you, okay, cool. How are you going to get there? And you're just like, I'm showing you what I think can happen in order to be able to get there. Because Alex is on top of this game already. How about the 3,200 shares? And don't forget about the 15 leaps that I've already bought. Those could print as well. And I'm selling calls against those. So now let's talk about the cash flow. We already know what the capital outlay is. We already know what the capital outlay is. So let me get back over here. We know that this capital outlay is $28,000. Thanks, Stephanie, for this again. This was important, guys, for you guys to help me out with this, so I don't have to keep going back and forth. So we already know that the capital outlay is $28,292. And I also know that I got about 4 months, in my opinion, maybe even 6, before SOFI is like over $10 a share. And it's no longer compelling to want to buy more shares. Like, I'm only going to be willing to average up until SOFI is like $10 a share. After that, I'm not going to want any more shares. So that's another part of the goal that I already have in my mind, if that makes sense. Good questions. There are more tickers that have more premiums. I'm just more comfortable with SOFI because I've put in the work, and they've already showed us where their EPS is going to be in 2025 and 2026. So it takes about 6 years per the rule of 72 to double your money in an ETF in the stock market. So I'm trying to get that done in 2 to 3 years. So SOFI presented that opportunity because they already laid out the plan. And they're like, hey, we're going to get to like this 80 cents EPS by this amount of time. So I just started doing the math, and I'm like, holy shit, they can get to 20, 25 bucks a share. And then it is also, that's kind of where the incentives are for Anthony Noto as well as the CEO. If you look and you study at his performance-based packages, his compensation packages for shares. So the share price has to perform for this guy to get his golden parachute, if you will. So it's like we're kind of aligned. Our goals are aligned as shareholders with the CEO, the guy at the helm with SOFI and Anthony Noto. So those are the reasons that I chose SOFI for this particular adventure, if you will. Good question. So let's keep going. So now it's like, okay, are these shares generating any money? And when I say shares, it's not just these, it's these. So guys, what is 32 plus 15? Can anybody help me out? Can anybody help me out in the chat, or do I gotta go to the calculator? What is 32 plus 15? 47. It's 47. And what did I say I needed in order to get to 100 grand? It's 5,000. Because these long calls, I'm going to get back over here. I'm taking my time here because I don't want to miss it. I don't want to fuck it up for you guys. This is important because a lot of y'all don't know how to look at a portfolio through my eyes, and that stands to reason because it's my eyes and my perspective, not yours. But it's so easy for me when you guys show me y'all's portfolio in our private discussions and you're all freaking out. I look at it and I'm like, bro, you're good. Your account's going to be like 50, 60, 70, 80,000 by such and such date. And it's already happened like 50 times on this channel with people that I have a personal Discord with. Just, we became friends on the channel. I help them out offline and I show them how to see their portfolio through my eyes. And I'm like, you just need to stick it out. And you have a window to accumulate shares, because whenever you lose that window to accumulate shares, it's no longer attractive for you. because then you can sit back and wait. So guys, we're close. We only need to accumulate 300 more shares or buy 3 more leaps. So now we go over here and we're like, can we afford to do so? The answer is no, because we only got 45 bucks. So now we got to start looking at our cash flow. How long would it take us to be able to buy 300 more shares if we want to buy the shares? Or if we want to do synthetic shares, buy the leaps and then enter into a more, into the poor man covered call campaign. How long would it take us to accumulate that money based on the cash flow that we are producing via covered calls and cash secured puts, because we're selling cash secured puts on margin. So keep that in mind. So let's go here to the 750 covered calls. And guys, look at this thing right here. This expired at the end of the month, 6/28, and we picked up 472 bucks. So I'm like, in 2 or 3 months, we just do this over and over again, 2 more times, 3 more times, we will have enough money to sell, to be able to purchase a few more leaps. Because if we wanted to do the leaps right now, it's going to be about less than $1,000. It's going to be less than $1,000 right now. So we essentially just need 2 more rounds of covered calls, and we can get to our leap goal. And then you add the leaps on top of the shares that we already own, and we essentially have exposure to 5,000 shares. And all the way that we are waiting for these shares to perform, because right now they're not really performing, because we're down on the shares, as you guys can see there. We're down 922, 931 on the actual shares. Now we're just waiting for it to kind of all pan out. So I have to sell some very, very aggressive covered calls in order to bring in the premium to justify the capital outlay. So now we're going to look at this. We invested $28,000 and some change, and we brought in $472. And we did that for how long? Like, how long did we do that? So we did this yesterday. So in 18 days. So keep that in mind. So would anyone venture to guess, before we take out our calculator, how much of an annualized return that is on our money? Because can we really call it dead money, or is that just ignorance on the part of people calling it dead money? Because ignorance is not knowing. Stupid is knowing and then doing it anyway. So if once you know the math and then you call it dead money, then you're not being ignorant, you're being stupid. But if you don't know the math, that's fair. Ignorance is bliss, right? So type in the chat, what do you think the annualized return is on a $28,000 capital outlay, $28,292 capital outlay, that's going to fetch you $472 in premium for 18-day contract. Would anyone venture to guess what the annualized return is on that? We're going to do the math together on the trusty rusty calculator. That's low. It's probably going to be closer to double that, Alex. We'll see. That's my guess. We'll see. So let's do it, because I haven't done the math, but I know it's going to be over 30. So let's go. Let's do the math. We're going to go to the calculator. We already have our knowns, right? We already have the knowns. We know that we invested. We know that we invested $28,292. We know that the premium that we fetched was 472. Those are the knowns. So we're going to plug those numbers in, and we know that the contract was 18 days as well. Those are the knowns, and you're going to be very, very close, T-Sum. You probably already used your calculator. We'll see. We'll see, right? So let's see what happens. So let's go here and make sure that I'm showing everything right. So this is the way you do the math without using the wheel tracker. What you do is you take the premium that you collected and you divide it by the capital outlay. So the capital outlay, according to Stephanie, is 28,292. She did the math for us. So we're going to go over here and and what was it? 28,000. Oh shit. What is it? $28,292. That way I have it right here too. 28,292. And then I always like to turn it into a percentage right away. Just multiply that times 100. So that's 1.66% right away. But then now we want to annualize it. So we're going to divide it by the days of the contract, which is 18. And we're going to get that coefficient of 0.09. And then we're going to multiply that by the number of days in the year, which is roughly 365. And that's going to put us at 33%. Not bad. Not bad. So let's look at the chat and let's see who was closer. So there we go. Alex Clements, 33.5. Mike was copying off my paper. Y'all are crazy. But anyway, so guys, let me ask you a question. If you can go fetch 33% on your money every 18 days, or let's just call it every 20 days. I mean, is that really considered dead money? If you truly believe that you're in a situation where it's just a matter of time before these shares are going to be trading for 20 to 25 bucks a share. I mean, that's a question that you have to answer. I've already made that bet. I'm like, it's actually advantageous for me for SOFI to stay at these levels at least another month, for at least another 18 days for sure, because I want this contract to expire worthless. And then it would be even better if SOFI was trading at like, say, 730 or 740 at that time, because then I could get a lot more premium on the next batch, or I could look at it a different way. If it's trading at like 670 or 680, I'm not going to get as much in premium. But if I turn around and I buy some leaps, then I'm not paying as much for the leaps either. So it's however you want to look at it. Or if I'm like, well, you know, if the premiums were pretty decent and then there was a pullback, well, then maybe I don't want to mess with the leaps because the leaps expire. They're a little bit harder to manage. Then I could just turn around and maybe scoop up another 100 shares. Because ideally what I like to do, just so y'all know, is I want to have a buffer, right? I want to have a buffer because I showed you all the perfect world scenario, if you will. So I want to have a buffer. The goal is to get to 4,000 shares. And I want to get to 20 leaps. So that gives me the exposure of 6,000 shares. Because then now I feel like it's just a lot easier mathematically to get to that 100 grand. And I think that could happen by middle of next year, if not sooner, if SOFI goes on a little run. Because once it breaks over 7 and stays there, and then it goes to 8, and it gets very, very interesting very, very quickly from a technical perspective. So anyway, guys, let me know. Do you think it's fair to call it dead money? Because I think that it's just a matter of perspective, because I'm just looking at it like this. If I was going to go buy a piece of real estate and I'm going to have to go tie up 28,292, whatever the number was. Where's Stephanie? Here we go. I'm going to go tie up 28,292 bucks. how in the hell, if that's an Airbnb or whatever the case may be, how in the hell are you going to generate $472 in premium? How are you going to do it? Like, how are you going to do it? You got to, it's positive cash flow. You can certainly go buy a real nice piece of property if you want to take on debt and stuff, with your closing costs, your down payment, $28,290. And it's certainly going to give you this type of rent. But that's not going to be positive cash flow because you have a loan, you have insurance, you have maintenance that you have to service. I'm talking about positive cash flow on a $28,292 investment. And then we haven't even talked about this other part. I'm over here selling cash secured puts on margin as well. What happens when this one pans out for us? And then I'm able to do this one again. I mean, look, on May the 31st, I just rolled this one for another $345 in credit. Guys, I'm going to give y'all some fucking cheat code action right now. Give me a thumbs up if you want some cheat code action right now. What have I told you? Not to sound like a fucking infomercial, but what if I told you that there's a way to get to the goal right now, to have the exposure to all the shares that I wanted right now? Would you be interested in that without me putting up any more fucking money? Because my backstop trade could get me there. Give me a thumbs up if you want to see it. Like, I could manufacture money out of fucking thin air right now just by doing this right here. Check this out. Follow me for a second. I have these cash secured puts right here. These cash secured puts, I'm fucking doing them with other people's money, bro. This isn't even my money. We can all agree, first of all, that this isn't even my money. How do we know that? Because I only got $45.27. We can't even buy fucking barely a meal at McDonald's or Sonic with that kind of money today. Can't take my wife to the movies for $45. She'll go buy a bottle of wine and popcorn. I want the nachos, the hot dogs. Fuck, we're in it for $75, $80 already. You know what I mean? So we can't even go to the movies for $45. But what if I told you that I could use this cash secured put in my skill set right now, and I can roll these bad boys out. All of that premium is going to hit my brokerage cash. Then I can turn around and do a couple of things with that brokerage cash. I could either buy more shares or I could buy more leaps with those shares and start manufacturing even more money on a monthly basis and just be on the hook over here at $7 in the distance. Y'all want to see what that looks like? Because that's the kind of stuff that I do. And that's how I call it creative financing, if you will. So let's get rocking and rolling here with that. So this is what I would do if I was hell bent on getting the exposure to my 5,000 shares right now. What I would do is I would take these bad boys to backstop promised land. I would roll this position to January of 2025, and I may do it right now if it looks good. We'll see. We'll see. And I would do this right here. And look at how much money that would give me right now. Look at how much money that would give me right now. And I wouldn't take less than that. Like, it says low fill, I would wait. I'd have to wait it out because I needed to make sure that I have enough money to be able to get it done. So $1,259 is what I would need. And I would essentially kick this can down the road. That $1,259 would go to my buying power right now. And then we add that to the $45 that I got. So call it $1,300. And then now we go over here and I'm like, how many leaps could I buy with $1,300? Or shares for that matter. If I wanted just more shares, I'd rather do the leaps because I'd have more leverage. So I go over here to the leaps and I want to buy these guys over here at $5. And I know that I have about 1,300 shares, $1,300 to work with. I feel like that would get me 4 leaps. That's interesting because we got 4. We got 4 plus the 47 that we already have exposure to, because we've got 3,200 shares plus the 15 leaps that we already have plus the 4 that we could have. And you know, where I went to school, that would get us to the goal, because that would be the equivalent of 5,100 share exposure. And then now we're just managing the cover calls the rest of the way. So that is something to consider. I could get more money on this roll, though. I could get more money on this roll if SoFi tanked a little bit more. You know, because this is in the money right now, right? Like if I was doing this and SoFi was like at 670, it would be juicier for me to do that roll now. I would get less money because it's less risky if I do this roll when SoFi is like at 710, 715, something like that. So we'll see. But that's, you know, kicking it out in the distance, because here I got 345 and I only had to go from 531 to 628, and I got 345 in net credit. So now you got to look at the gimmies and the gotchas, right? So that's 345 for tying up the money for a month. Get about 1250 for tying up the money for the next 6 months or so. So I'm just like, well, if I just keep doing it this way, it's 345 times, there's like 6 months left in the year, right? Give or take. That's $2,070. So I get like an extra $700 just for continuing to do it month by month by month, if that makes sense. So that's the reason I haven't pulled the trigger, because I don't see a catalyst with SoFi right now that creates that urgency for me. But if I thought that SoFi was on the verge of this breakout, then I'd be like, I know that I could get more money continuing to roll this put on a monthly basis if SoFi stays in this level, at this level. But if SoFi automatically, like all of a sudden shoots up to like 750 or 8, now I lost the opportunity, because now I'm going to be selling cash secured puts on margin at a higher strike price that isn't as attractive. So that's a whole different element of risk. And I'm not going to be collecting much more premium on that side of the house as well. So anyway, so here becomes the verbal survey: to roll the put to January of 25 or not to roll the put. So if you guys could help me out in the chat, roll or not to roll, what would you do? What would you do? Let's cheat off of each other's minds a little bit. What would you do? Would you roll or would you not roll? So that's the thing, guys. So anyway, give me a thumbs up if you think you picked up a little something here. I gave you all some nuggets today. Y'all might have to go watch this over a couple of times, if you will, because I showed y'all how to create money out of thin air. Now, keep in mind, this cash secured put at sub point is going to have to perform, right? We know that. But it's also like, oh, if SoFi isn't above $7 by January of 2025, I mean, fuck, at that point, we got to really be honest with ourselves and kind of just like second guess our investment thesis altogether, right? Like maybe we might be in the wrong ticker. So, you know, you got to be willing to be honest with yourselves. So it's when you simultaneously buy to close one position while selling to open another position. So essentially, I'm rolling this contract from 628 to January of 2025. It's the same exact contracts, the same number of contracts, same strike price. I'm just kicking off the expiration date. What is Shamu saying over here? Man, hoping not to fail the test as I'm new. If I had this amount of capital, I would roll. I believe SoFi would do great this year. No keeps buying for some reason. Keep rolling, rolling, rolling. Yeah, I agree. So anyway, so that's something that I've considered, guys. That is something that I've been looking at. I know I don't feature this account a lot online because there's not a lot of moves to make with it because I don't have a lot of money. But I'm like, this is just an exposure game to me, and I have this vision of SoFi being at $20 a share, probably by the middle of next year. So I'm like, how am I going to have exposure to those shares right now? How can I gain exposure to those shares right now without just pumping money into the account? Because some of you guys might not be in my situation where you can just pump money into the account, because I could fix this right now by pumping another $1,500, $2,000 into the portfolio and be done. That's easy for me. But that's not realistic for probably most of you. So I'm sitting here scrambling, doing creative finance, shit that I haven't had to do in years in my life personally, thank God, so that it can be more relatable to the people watching the channel, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and put this roll on for you guys, because it doesn't really matter what y'all say in the chat. I had already decided that I was going to do that. You can, but if it goes to like $4, then at that point you're kind of screwed. You're kind of screwed, if that makes sense. So what I'm trying to do here, Ren, is what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to create premium so that I can do something with that premium, because I want to gain more exposure to SoFi, if that makes sense. It's only a downside if you're selling cash secured put because it ties up the cash. But if you're selling covered calls, why not use the time for your advantage? So anyway, so let me figure this out here real quickly. Roll this position. How much did they pay you to go way over here? That's interesting too, right? Holy moly. Things just got a little more compelling, didn't they? These backstop trades, I'm telling you. Things just got a little more compelling. So there's that. And or I can go over here. Yeah, so it's an extra grand, but you're tying up for a whole other year. Now, keep in mind, you can get out of this contract a lot faster if SoFi moonshots to like $9 or $10. I could look up and be up like 70% on this contract, give back 300 or 400 of those dollars, and free up all of that collateral. Those are the things that can happen as well. So anyway, I want to stick here in this time frame. That way, everything kind of matches up, if you will. I mean, I could match it up over here too, because I got the leaps for January 2026. So there's that option as well. That's interesting, guys. Shit, that's interesting. Because that 2250 would come in really, really handy right now, because I would be able to do a couple of things. Let me look at this one. Ooh, and I love it. Look at how tight that bid spread. This is just beautiful, guys. Let me see if I can get it filled right here. I can definitely get it filled there, but what about here? What about here? And will they do it at 50? Or is that going to put me at low? So let me see if I can get it filled at 49. I think it might have happened. Let's see. Well, we don't ever want to see that, do we? So let's see here. There we go. So I matched it up to the leaps. So I'm like running it. Go quasi coverage strangle over there. I'm sure there's a fancy term that they use for this now. So now I got to go here and look at the math. So I bought to close. It gave 28 cents, and then I collected 178. So now we're going to go to the wheel tracker. Now we're going to go to the wheel tracker. So now I got to go find this bad boy right here. I gave back 28 cents. And I want you to keep in mind, look at this adjusted cost basis. That's what I really want you to look at while I'm doing this exercise. So I'm going to put here rolled. And then now I'm going to go over here. And it's 116.25. Oh, shit. Okay, so I screwed that up big time. Cancel. So I sold the put. Expiration's 116.25. Strike price was 7. It's 15 contracts. And I got $1.78. So I got $1.78. Look what it does to the adjusted cost basis. Hello. A lot more compelling. Then I'm going to put this as open. So it's going to show all those puts are in the money, all the premium that we received. So now we're going to go over here and look at the scoreboard. So we got the cost basis on the shares at 23,000. We're down $900 on the shares. The call profit, we're negative 39.72 because we've paid for leaps. The put profit is 38.73. So total, we're down only $99 now on this position. So we've almost manufactured a break even on this position, guys, which is pretty crazy. But now we have 3,200 shares and we got the 15 cash secured puts, and we also have the call contract. So the 47 covered calls plus the 15 leaps. So now we're going to go back over here to SOFI. And now let's see if this is true. Well, looky here. How much brokerage cash do we have now? And we didn't tie up any money of our money. And we still have more margin that we can use, guys. I could go do another 5 contracts over here, probably. I mean, that's something too that I could consider, and I could really get jiggy with this thing right now. Like I could go over here and do this game right here and do probably, let's see how much I have available, but I could probably do 5 more and pick up, let's just say 179 or 178 just to get it filled. And that's not, I have 7,300 in buying power. So I can pick up another $889 in buying power or in individual credit and brokerage cash right now for tying up $3,500 more of the bank's money. So I'm going to go ahead and do it right now just because there's something that I'm trying to get done with the account. But then I'm going to give you all the gimmies and the gotchas. Y'all are learning a lot today. You just might not realize it. So I'm going to give y'all some gimmies and gotchas because what I did right now looks really good. People are like, oh my God, I'm going to go do that on my account. I don't want you to go blow up the account. I'm going to give you some gimmies and gotchas right now because there's definitely some gimmies and gotchas. So look at what I just did right now. I created a bunch of brokerage cash. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, okay? So I did 5 more contracts and I got 178. So I got to go back to the wheel tracker and I got to put that in. So I sold 6 more puts for 116.25 at $7, 5 contracts. I got 178. And you see that adjusted cost basis just came down. The put profit came down. So now we're in the black with this particular position. But here's the thing. If you buy leaps, here we go. If I take all of this money and buy leaps, it doesn't help my margin situation because Robinhood doesn't have anything. They can't really margin a leap. They can't loan you money on a leap. So the safer thing for me to do to make sure that I keep this margin status at low risk right now is I need to take that buying power and I need to buy shares with that buying power. Because if I buy leaps, I'll get more exposure, but I also run the risk of getting into a margin maintenance situation because this is when you do this kind of shit. Let me give you the gimme and the gotcha real quickly. This kind of shit can blow up your account because all that would have to happen is this margin maintenance requirement could go from like 60 to 50. And now I would be forced to close out these positions right here and free up that capital, right? I have to maybe look at selling the shares at a loss or something to make good on a margin maintenance call, or I would have to deposit some money to get out of this situation because I did this under the assumption that SOFI is going to stay at these levels with margin maintenance. But if SOFI were to dip into the fives, that margin maintenance could change. So I'm giving you guys all of the freaking angles right now. I hope that you can appreciate what I'm doing for you guys today. So anyway, that bud must be good, Mark. You need to keep up, my man. On a serious note. So anyway, yes, it was meant to be in 2026 because I'm trying to maximize the premium that I brought in, A, and B, I wanted to match it up for the leaps. So I kind of wanted to create a little quasi strangle over here in the distance. And then now the only thing that I have to do in this portfolio is manage covered calls. That's it. So it turns it into a very low maintenance situation. But now we got money. We went from 45 bucks to $3,184. I need to put that in the tracker, but first I'm going to make a move, right? So I think what I need to do to keep the account safer, if you will, is I need to buy more shares. So I want to buy 300 more shares. So that will put me at 3,500 shares total. So there's that. So let me go over here. So I got 300 more shares at 693. So now I got to go over here to the tracker. So I'm going to go here because this one's for the leap. So I'm going to use a different cell. So it's going to go 611. And we bought 300 shares at 693. That's open. So now that puts our cost basis at 719. So now I'm going to go here to Robinhood. And let's see if that's true. There it is, 719. But now I have 300 shares that are unencumbered. So now I need to go over here And I need to sell to open 3 more contracts for the shares that I just bought. Get a little rebate, if you will. So there it is. So I picked that money up as well. So then now I got to go back to the wheel tracker. And I need to go annotate that covered call. So 611 sell call. And that is for 628, 750. It's 3 contracts and picked up 9 cents. Hit open. Then now I just got to go to this brokerage cash, and I have $1,132. So $1,132. I'm going to do this part offline for you guys. So I need to go to my cash over here, and I need to put it at. So it's 611, $1,132. So the portfolio is essentially 97% SOFI, 3% cash, essentially. So I'd say that's pretty heavy in SOFI, and it stands to reason because it's a 1 stock portfolio. So anyway, that's all of it. And I'm going to leave this $1,132 there. I'm not going to go buy the shares right now. I'm not going to go buy more leaps right now. Why? Because in case if there's a re-rating or anything of the sort, if I need to get in trouble, if I need to go buy contracts, if I gotta free up these shares, if I gotta give some of this money back to free up collateral because I wake up to a margin maintenance requirement or something, I have to have some firepower to do so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be patient, and I'm going to wait for another round of covered calls to build up my brokerage cash that way. So we know that on 628, so now we've picked up about $500 on this investment now, right? So now it's just like, we know that we can get probably maybe $1,000 if we do it a month at a time, so this is where you start playing with the idea of like, okay, well, how much money can I look forward to? Again, let's say I didn't have these contracts right now and I wanted to do a month-long contract at 750, and I could do 50 contracts. How much money is that going to be bringing in? Hello, $848. I can turn around and take that money and buy another 100 shares and still increase my brokerage cash to maintain that safety in my account. So anyway, guys, I've given y'all a lot today. Hopefully you guys can appreciate that. There's not another wheeler on YouTube that is going to go through all of these angles for a small account, especially when I have other shit that I could be doing with the bigger account, right? That's the reality. But it's like, I'm here because I want you guys to win, and I appreciate all of the members as well. So that's the thing. Is it easier to have one stock account when it is small? This is just something that I'm doing because, I have a different skill set. My conviction is really high on SOFI. It's a lot safer to probably have 2 or 3. It's a lot safer to have 2 or 3. You don't have all of your eggs in one basket. But I know that I can manufacture the win right here. Like I know that I can manufacture the win. So let's recap. So how are we standing with SOFI now? Let's just recap. So we got 3,500 shares at 719. So I'm going to go take the calculator. So we got 3,500 shares at 719. So now our investment on the shares is 25,165. Keep in mind the total deposits in this account is 25 grand. So we already know we're winning. We already know that we're utilizing other people's money because we paid more for shares than we even deposited into the account. So there's that action. And we also know that we've got money tied up in the leaps as well. So that is another thing that we know to be true. So we know that these leaps, we paid 52.20 for those leaps. Y'all saw it down there. So we know that we paid 52.20 for those leaps. So collectively, we're in it for 30,385. And we only put in 25,000 out of pocket. Keep that in mind. Really, really important. So it's like, how are you able to do that? Because the premium's fucking real, motherfucker. That's how. Because the premium is real. That's how. So we've got a total capital outlay, the total investment of 30,385. And now I can say conservatively that it's going to be generating probably about 750 a month on the low end. On a good month, maybe $1,000 a month. So you have to decide whether or not you think that's dead money. For me, I take that all day long. I could go buy a house in cash for 30 grand, for 30,385, and it can generate positive cash flow of $750 to $1,000. Sign me the fuck up. So for someone to call it dead money and not take into consideration that at some point there could be some capital appreciation, I just don't think you're being totally honest with yourself. Because what's the difference if I had $30,000 tied up via a cash secured put that was bringing in the same amount of money per month, but I don't own these shares? Because you're still susceptible to the drawdown via a cash secured put. Because if this shit goes down to 3, I'm contractually obligated to buy this shit at 7 anyway. So you're still going to be down money. You're still going to be losing money. So I think it's just a matter of perspective, and it's a matter of comfort. It's what is comfortable for you. Me, I like both. I like to have the majority of my money in cash secured puts. But if I'm looking for that double, or in this case, a triple, quadruple in the portfolio, trying to take the 25 to 100. So you're looking for 2 doubles, right? 25 to 50, 50 to 100. I got to be willing to own the shares. How else am I going to do it? Because if it's only going to yield $750 to $1,000 a month, that's going to take a lot of months. It's going to take a lot of months to get to 100,000. I'd rather have those 3,500 soldiers ready to go fight for me. So if it goes up $1 tomorrow, I manage to cover calls, but my portfolio's up $3,500. The cash secured puts out in the distance looking really fucking good. So if it goes up another dollar, boom, those soldiers just fetch me another $3,500. I'm managing to cover calls. Those cash secured puts in the distance are looking really, really good. I'm thinking, shit, maybe I can close those and take all the risk off the table, because I still have some buying power over here to do so. So I created options with these options that I put out for you guys today. Anyway, I don't feature this account often because there's not a whole lot to do with it. You guys have seen everything. There's not much to do except wait. Now we're playing a game called Wait and See. But just to recap on it, because I won't be talking about this account very often, because It's not until the rent's due again, right? In 2 weeks, we got the 3,500 shares that we're underwater on a little bit, and we got the covered calls at 750 for January or for June to 28. And then we have 20 cash secured puts at $7 in the distance, January 2026, and we've got the 15 leaps in the distance at $5, January 2026, and we're selling covered calls against these leaps, and we're selling covered calls against these shares. That's what's going on with the entire portfolio in a nutshell. And we're just monitoring this right here to make sure that it stays in a low risk situation. I've got some individual cash right there to try to get me out of that bind so that I don't have to take a bath, a big bath, if I were to dip to like $6 or something like that. And then I know that the big risk that I'm taking is that everything is based off of the risk profile of SOFI right here at 50 and at 30%. If this changes, then I'll have to pivot with the positions in this particular portfolio. Anyway, give me a thumbs up if you guys learned anything today. I got to get rocking and rolling. TJ the Wheel Deal signing off. As always, may your sky stay blue, stock screen. If you're a member, going live on the channel tonight, and we're going to do the introduction to the Wheelers seminar series. So it's going to be an introduction video, like what I'm trying to accomplish with this series. And essentially, I'm trying to give you guys all of the information that I wish I had on the front end before I ever started wheeling, so that it could save me 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year. I'm looking at 6 o'clock. I'm looking at 6 o'clock is when I'm looking to go live, either 5 or 6 o'clock. I got to talk to the wife. She's the boss, right? So it's going to either be 5 or 6 o'clock. And I'm going to try to go just about every day this week and probably until next week, because this is, Texas time, because this is going to take me probably 4 to 10 lives to get all of the information out there. And then maybe in 6 months or so, I'll do it again and it'll be more concise. 6 months after that, it'll be more concise. I'll do it again. And then I think I'll be ready to take the show on the road. Anyway, TJ the Wheel Deal signing off. As always, guys, stay blue, stock screen. Peace out. God bless you guys. We'll catch the members tonight. Appreciate you guys joining as members.